Surrounding the X Summit in Australia on the 16th of May, there are mainly 3 new products that Fujifilm are going to launch this year, so let's dive right into it. First of all, one lens that they announced at the previous X Summit in Tokyo was the XF 18 to 50mm f2.8 to 4.8. Now this lens is basically the replacement of the kit lens, the 18 to 55. That is honestly a really good lens and really beloved by everyone. And it's pretty much an update of this lens with a more modern design. In the images that has been released so far of this lens, what we can see is that the lens will have an aperture, a zoom, as well as a focus ring. The aperture will not be marked because it's a variable aperture lens, right? From 2.8 to 4.8, depending on your focal length. But it will also have a switch to be able to simply switch from auto aperture to manual aperture. Now this lens has been teased for a while now, and overall, I think that the 18 to 55, I think I've mentioned it before, was not for me one of the lenses that needed an upgrade. I would say that the 16 to 55mm f2.8 would be a lens that I would like to be upgraded, and I would like Fujifilm to release a more compact version of this lens, right? Because nowadays with the new design of lenses, what we have seen is that, for example, lenses from Sony, which are full frame, are kind of similar size as the new lenses from Fujifilm, right? This 16 to 55mm f2.8. So if Fujifilm could release something more compact, that would be something that really would add value to that lens. But the 18 to 55 replacement, the 18 to 50, for me honestly was not necessary, but that's what we get for this particular X Summit in terms of lens. Okay, now let's talk about another camera that will be released during the next X Summit, which is the X-T50. And yes, you heard correctly, it's not the X-T40, but apparently the X-T50, because the X-T5 has been released, and Fujifilm has released in the past the X-T30 Mark II, but we'll just jump over the X-T40 and go to the X-T50. Now, what is the X-T50? Well, it's pretty much a smaller X-T5, because it will share some of its characteristics, like for example the sensor. It will share the 40 megapixel sensor from the X-T5. And one of the rumors that are running around, and you can check more on Fuji rumors by the way, is that this camera will also have IBIS. Now this is kind of surprising because so far the smaller models were released without IBIS, and this is another point of differentiation between the two cameras that kind of go away, right? So it really, you really need to ask yourself, okay, what is going to be the price point of this camera? If it has the 40 megapixel sensor, if it has IBIS, I don't think that it will have weather sealing, because weather sealing is usually something that is reserved for the pro bodies. And I think that it will also have only one single SD card slot, not like the X-T5. But apart from that, we can ask ourselves, okay, what is going to be the point of differentiations? Maybe in terms of video, we will have something that is limited to 4K 30, or 6.2K might not be available in the X-T50. But overall, I feel like the X-T50 having the 40 megapixel sensor from Fujifilm might kind of create some friction in terms of the products that have been released, right? What is going to be the price difference between the X-T5 and the X-T50, and what is going to be the real differentiation? Isn't the X-T50 going to eat a little bit of market share from the X-T5? Well, we'll see that in the near future, but overall kind of hard to understand the differentiation strategy here. Yeah, maybe one other difference that I can think of as well would be the older battery version. That could be something that Fujifilm, keep on the newer model, the newer battery, but it kind of defeats the purpose. I would think that their own product line should have one single battery, especially for the new generation cameras. That way it would make it easier for anyone who wants to have an A cam as an X-T5 or an X-H2, X-H2S, and a B cam as a smaller model, to easily switch between both of them which right now might not be the case with the new X-T50. So what do you think about the X-T50? Do you think it's just gonna be a smaller X-T5 with pretty much the same capabilities with one SD card slot? For how much, I don't know, but yeah, overall for myself, I'm not very excited by it because I kind of want to see more differentiation between different products, and from what I see in the rumors, that's not what we get here. Okay, and one final product that is not going to be an X camera, but a GFX camera is going to be the GFX 100S2. Now the GFX 100-2 was released last year in November, if I remember well, and I tested it, I had the chance to test it, and it really felt like huge improvement in terms of burst rate, in terms of autofocus. If you've shot in the past with medium format, you know how slow medium format can be, and that is normal because there is a huge amount of data to process, right? However, the GFX 100 Mark II really felt like it was kind of bridging the gap between full frame and medium format in terms of autofocus and in terms of burst rate. I took it in the street of Tokyo. I took it also in some dense performance, and I was able to have autofocus on the medium format, right? So the GFX 100S Mark II is pretty much a smaller version of the GFX 100 Mark II. Basically what you get is a smaller body without battery grip option, and we could expect that they would save money on the EVF, maybe the screen, as well as maybe slower capabilities of burst rate. If you really want the best of the best and the fastest processing, maybe the GFX 100 Mark II is for you. However, the GFX 100S Mark II might bring basically lower burst rate, as well as maybe, we don't know yet, but that's just a rumor, lower performance in terms of video. Now the GFX 100 Mark II was kind of a beast in terms of video because it had pretty much every single mode that you could think about out there. You could shoot with Premista, you could shoot with a Super 35, with full frame lenses and different aspect ratios, right? So will those shooting mode be available on the GFX 100S Mark II? I'm not sure yet. We'll have to wait to know a bit more about it. But basically this is just to give a more affordable option for people who want to jump to the medium format world, to basically get them into the Fujifilm GFX ecosystem. And I know that most people will not get this camera because this is a medium format camera, right? But it could be interesting to see what it can do, what is the price point also of this camera, and yeah, what would be the difference between the GFX 100 Mark II and the S Mark II. So what is the product that you are the most excited about? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.